Most creators out there are still talking about TSH, and I get it. It's the number your doctor circles. It's the number on the lab report that either gives you relief or sends you home feeling gaslit. But here's what I need you to understand right now, before we go anywhere else today. TSH is a snapshot, and you are not a snapshot. You are a wave. There is a rhythmic pattern inside your body, a biological tide that rises and crashes every single day. And when that rhythm is broken, no single lab number is going to catch it. Your doctor is going to look at that frozen moment in time and say, your levels look fine. And you are going to sit in your car afterward, completely exhausted, and wonder if you're losing your mind. You are not losing your mind. You are losing your rhythm. And that is exactly what we're going to decode today. But before I show you what's really happening inside your body, I want to know something. I want to know where you are right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how crashed is your energy today? Right now, this moment, not last Tuesday when you had a good morning, today. Drop your number in the comments below, not because it's a poll, because I am going to track our collective recovery over the next 90 days. And at the end of this journey, I want you to come back to this video, look at the number you wrote, and feel the distance between who you were then and who you are now. That number is your starting line. Go write it. I'll be right here. Here at VitaWave, we operate from a single core belief. Health is not a destination, it's a rhythm you learn to ride. We don't just treat symptoms here. We don't just hand you a supplement stack and send you on your way. We decode your biological waves to turn back the clock from the inside out. And the thyroid wave is one of the most misunderstood rhythms in the entire human body. So today, we're going to go deep into it. We're going to understand why the crash happens, what's actually breaking your rhythm in 2026, and most importantly, what you can do, starting tonight, to begin riding this wave instead of being pulled under by it. Stay with me. This one changes things. Let me paint you a picture. It's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. You woke up at 7, you had your coffee, you answered some emails, and for about 45 glorious minutes, you felt almost like yourself. Then, without warning, a curtain drops. Your brain goes foggy. Your body feels like it's wrapped in wet sand. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't skip a meal. You didn't stay up late. It just happened. And that right there is your first glimpse of the thyroid wave in action. Here's what's actually going on beneath the surface. Your thyroid doesn't produce hormones at a constant flat rate. It operates in pulses, rhythmic secretions that follow your circadian biology, your cortisol curve, your sleep architecture, even your light exposure. The amount of active thyroid hormone available to your cells at 7 a.m. is biologically different from what's available at 2 p.m. or 9 p.m. That's what I mean by hormone bioavailability, not just how much hormone is in your blood at any given moment, but how much of it is usable at the cellular level right now. And your standard annual TSH panel, it measures none of that. Think about it this way. Imagine I tried to understand the ocean by taking one photograph from one cliff on one afternoon. I might capture calm water, or I might capture a storm, but either way, I've captured one moment. I haven't understood the ocean. That's what annual thyroid testing is, one photograph of a living, breathing, rhythmic system. Now, here's where it gets emotionally complicated, and I want to be honest with you about this. When you go to your doctor feeling like you're running on 10% battery and they look at that one photograph and say your labs are normal, that is not them lying to you. That is them looking at the wrong picture. And the result? You leave that office carrying something that might be the heaviest thing of all, the suspicion that maybe this is just who you are now. It is not who you are. What you are experiencing is a thyroid rhythm that has been disrupted, and a disrupted rhythm can be restored. But to restore it, you first need to understand exactly how it breaks. Let's talk about the crash. Not the kind of tired where you yawn and go to bed early. I'm talking about the kind of tired where you cancel plans, where you stare at a simple task for 20 minutes and can't begin it, where you feel like your body's betraying you. Here's the biology of that moment. During a natural peak in your thyroid wave, your cells are receiving strong T3 signaling.
T3 is the active thyroid hormone, the one that actually powers your mitochondria, regulates your metabolism, drives your mental clarity. When your wave is at its crest, you feel it. You're sharper, you're warmer, you can think. And in that moment, what does most of us do? We push, because finally, we feel good enough to function. So we catch up on everything. We power through the to-do list. We socialize, we exercise, we produce. We squeeze every drop out of that window. And your cells, trying to meet that demand, burn through ATP, through glycogen, through the very cofactors that support thyroid hormone conversion at a rate your body cannot immediately repay. I call this metabolic debt, and that is precisely what sets up the next crash. Here's what makes this a cycle rather than just a bad day. When you deplete those resources at the peak, you're not just tired for one afternoon, you're compromising the next wave's ability to rise as high. The depletion suppresses T4 to T3 conversion. Cortisol spikes to compensate for the energy gap. That cortisol spike, while helpful in the moment, actually downregulates your thyroid receptor sensitivity. So the next morning, even if your TSH looks perfectly fine, your cells are less equipped to hear the thyroid signal. You get a shorter, shallower peak, a longer, deeper valley, and the spiral narrows. This is why so many people with thyroid dysfunction say the same thing. I used to be able to recover in one day. Now it takes 3. That's not aging. That's accumulated wave debt. And here's the most important thing I'm going to say in this entire section. You can predict the crash before it happens. Your body gives you signals, subtle physiological whispers that arrive before the wave begins to fall. Core body temperature starts to drop slightly. Grip strength decreases. Focus quality changes, not dramatic brain fog yet, just the subtle narrowing of attention. Appetite shifts, the jaw muscles unconsciously tighten. When you learn to read those signals, you stop being a passenger in the crash, and you become someone who can steer around it. And I want you to do one thing right now to start building that map. For the next 3 days, every time you feel that first whisper, that faint dimming of your focus before it becomes full fog, write down the time. Just the time, nothing else. 3 days of timestamps, and you will see a pattern so clear it will change the way you think about your body forever. That pattern is your wave showing you where it falls, and knowing where it falls is the first step to stopping the spiral.
But before we get to the solutions, I need to tell you about something that is actively destroying your wave right now that almost no one is talking about. It is 2026, and the world has never been more efficient at breaking the human thyroid. I don't say that to scare you. I say it because once you see the specific mechanisms, you can't unsee them. And the moment you understand what's interfering with your wave, you have the power to remove it. Let's start with light. Your thyroid rhythm is synchronized by your master biological clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is calibrated almost entirely by light signals. Morning sunlight triggers a cascade. Cortisol rises, thyroid-stimulating hormones pulse, and your body begins building the wave you'll ride for the rest of the day. But in 2026, we are surrounded by artificial light long after sunset. Blue wavelength light from your phone, your laptop, your TV, your overhead LEDs tells your master clock that it is still daytime. Your cortisol stays elevated. Your body delays the critical nighttime shift toward thyroid hormone synthesis and growth hormone secretion. You push the wave forward. You arrive at tomorrow's starting line already behind. This is not a minor inconvenience. In practical terms, disrupted circadian signaling suppresses the T4 to T3 conversion pathway, the same pathway that turns your storage hormone into your active fuel. You could be producing plenty of T4 and still be starving for T3 if your clock is fractured. Now let's talk about the foods that are supposed to be helping you. In the last 3 years, the healthy eating space has been flooded with ultra-processed wellness products, protein bars with 17 ingredients, seed oil-based nutrition shakes marketed as anti-inflammatory, functional beverages with stabilizers and emulsifiers dressed up in clean packaging. Here's the problem. Several of these ingredients, including certain stabilizers, brominated compounds, and excessive soy isoflavones, directly compete with iodine uptake at the thyroid gland. Others create low-grade inflammatory signaling that, over time, downregulate your thyroid receptor expression. You'd think you're eating clean. Your thyroid knows otherwise. And then there's the caffeine conversation, which I know is going to be uncomfortable for some of you. I'm not telling you to stop drinking coffee, but I am telling you the truth about what excessive stimulant use does to your wave. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors, the receptors that tell you you're tired. This creates a false peak. You feel alert, you feel capable, you push harder. But underneath, your cortisol is spiking, your adenosine is accumulating, and your thyroid is trying to keep pace with a body that's lying to itself. When the caffeine clears, the accumulated adenosine hits all at once, the cortisol drops, and your thyroid, which was never actually at a peak, reveals how low it really was. That afternoon crash you blame on lunch, that's the lie unraveling. The people who ride their thyroid wave with the most skill are almost always the ones who learn to derive energy from their actual biology, not from borrowed alertness. And here is the single fastest thing you can do starting today to stop feeding that false peak. Push your first coffee to 90 minutes after waking. Not forever, just try it for 5 days. That first 90-minute window is when your cortisol is naturally at its highest point of the day. Caffeine on top of that existing cortisol spike creates excess adrenal strain that chips away at your conversion pathway before noon. Wait 90 minutes and you are using caffeine to complement your natural peak instead of cannibalize it. That one shift, 5 days. Notice what changes. Now, this leads us to the question everyone who has made it this far is waiting for. What do you do to actually get your wave back? This is where the work begins, and I want to be clear, this is not a 7-step listicle. These are biological principles. They work because they align you with the system your body already has instead of fighting against it. The first principle is time-restricted activity. If your thyroid wave follows a predictable rhythm, and yours does, even if it's currently disrupted, then your highest value cognitive and physical work should happen during your peak availability windows, not based on arbitrary schedule blocks, not based on when your meetings happen, based on your biology. For most people with circadian disrupted thyroid rhythms, the true peak tends to arrive later than expected, often between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., sometimes not until 11 a.m. if your cortisol curve has been flattened by chronic stress or poor sleep. Here's a simple diagnostic. For the next 5 days, before you open your phone or drink anything with caffeine, take a moment to rate your mental clarity and physical drive on a scale of 1 to 10 every 2 hours from waking until 8 p.m. Write it down, not in an app, on paper. The act of writing engages different neural pathways and makes the data more reliable. After 5 days, you will see a pattern. You will see your wave. Schedule your most demanding tasks during that peak window. Protect it like it's sacred, because biologically it is. The second principle is nutritional pacing at the valley. The bottom of your wave is not a time to eat a big meal, drink alcohol, or consume high glycemic foods. Those choices accelerate the metabolic spiral I described earlier. Your insulin spikes, your cortisol tries to respond, and the noise in your hormonal system gets louder exactly when it needs quiet. Instead, at the beginning of a dip, when you feel that first whisper of fatigue arising, do this. Consume selenium, not a megadose, but a small bioavailable amount. Brazil nuts work, 1 or 2. Selenium is the essential cofactor for deaminase enzymes, the enzymes that convert T4 into active T3. During a dip wave, your conversion pathway is already stressed. A small selenium input at this exact moment is like giving a struggling engine the one fuel it actually needs. Pair it with magnesium glycinate if you can. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic processes, and thyroid hormone synthesis is among them. It also reduces the cortisol spike that tends to accompany the dip, giving your body a gentler floor to rest on. Do not eat ultra-processed carbohydrates during the dip. The insulin spike will deepen the valley. The third principle is sleep architecture and the overnight surge. This is the part most people miss entirely, and it might be the single most important factor in thyroid recovery. Between approximately 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., if you are in quality non-REM sleep, your body executes what I call the overnight thyroid surge. Growth hormone pulses, thyroid-stimulating hormone rises, critical tissue repair and hormone synthesis happen. This is how tomorrow's wave gets built. If you are still on your phone at midnight, if your room is warm and bright, if your nervous system is still processing the last 3 hours of news or social media, you miss this window. Not partially, entirely. The window doesn't get rescheduled. Your body moves on without completing the work. What this looks like practically, your 11 p.m. is the single most important decision point of the day.
Not your morning routine, not your supplements. What you do at 11 p.m. determines the wave you wake up to. Aim for darkness by 9:30 p.m., not full sleep, just blue light elimination. Lower the temperature in your bedroom to between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This drop in ambient temperature is a direct trigger for the melatonin cascade that sets up the overnight hormonal sequence. Protect that window like it's medicine, because it is. I want to talk about what's possible on the other side of this. Not 6 months from now, not when everything is perfect. Right now, with the tools that exist in 2026, we are living through a quiet revolution in biometric monitoring. Wearable devices can now track your core body temperature to within a fraction of a degree in real time. Some next-generation rings and patches are beginning to measure skin galvanic response, heart rate variability, and infrared-detected blood flow patterns that serve as proxies for thyroid and cortisol activity. This is not science fiction. This is available now. And what it allows you to do for the first time in human history is watch your wave in near real time. When you see your core temperature begin to drop before you feel it, that's the bottom of the wave beginning. When your HRV climbs in the early morning, that's your body completing the overnight sequence successfully. You stop guessing, you start reading. I call this biological fluency, and it is the long game of thyroid recovery. But I want to go even deeper than data, because data without a framework is just noise. Your thyroid doesn't operate in isolation. It is in constant conversation with your adrenals, your gut microbiome, your liver, your brain. Every one of those systems is either supporting your wave or stealing from it. Long-term thyroid resilience comes from reducing the total hormonal load on your system, the cumulative demand placed on your endocrine network from chronic stress, poor sleep, inflammatory food, and emotional dysregulation. The people who achieve genuine, lasting energy, not the frenetic energy of stimulants, but the deep, steady, reliable energy of a well-functioning endocrine system, they didn't find a hack. They didn't find the perfect supplement. They found rhythm. They stopped fighting their body's signals and started listening to them. Here's what I want you to take away from today, above everything else. Your fatigue is not a character flaw. Your fatigue is not laziness. Your fatigue is not permanent. Your fatigue is information. It is your body's wave trying to get your attention because somewhere along the way, the rhythm was broken, and broken rhythms can be restored. I want to check back in on the number you wrote at the beginning of this video. Whatever you wrote, I want you to know that number is not your ceiling. That number is your starting point. Over the next several videos, we are going to go even deeper into each of the systems we talked about today. We're going to decode your cortisol-thyroid relationship. We're going to look at the specific micronutrient panels that your doctor almost certainly isn't ordering unless you ask. And we're going to build together a real-time map of your biological wave. If this video gave you language for something you've been feeling but couldn't quite name, then I want to ask you to do 3 things. 1. Drop your number in the comments, your energy scored today, right now. This becomes your before, and in 90 days, I'm going to ask you to come back.
2. Share this video with one person in your life who is fighting chronic fatigue and still being told their labs are normal. They need to hear this. Give it to them in the next 40 minutes. 3. Subscribe and turn on notifications. What's coming next in this series will go even deeper into the T3 conversion pathway, and I'm going to show you the exact lab markers you should be requesting that most physicians don't order unless you ask. Remember what we said at the start. Health is not a destination. It's a rhythm you learn to ride. We don't just treat symptoms here. We decode your biological waves to turn back the clock from the inside out. I'm Dr. Elias. This is VitaWave, and I'll see you in the next wave.